Hello and welcome to the presentation. So you want to start a food or drink business. I congratulate you for being here, for having an idea that you think is ready to share with the world and put your food idea out there. This presentation was developed as part of Loveland Startup Week in April 2017. My name is Sari Kimball and I am the founder and CEO of Cultivate Consulting. We are a full-service agency that helps food entrepreneurs develop their idea and go to market fast by providing them with accelerated tools and resources, as well as in many cases doing the work for them so that they can avoid a lot of the pitfalls that surround a food startup that cost time and money to get your product to market. Today's presentation, we're going to first just take a higher level look at whether you should even be going into a food business, whether it's a good idea, a good place to spend your time and your money. And then we're going to dive into what I call the 4 phases of a food business. And we'll go into a deeper dive into concept, development, launch, and growth. So just very quickly, a little bit about me and why I feel qualified to stand up here and talk about this subject. I have over 20 years in food industries, everything from purchasing to managing, growing, selling wholesale, buying wholesale, to running a commissary kitchen and even owning my own food business. And I have over 10 years of marketing experience, everything in the realm of branding, social media, event planning, and then most recently in design and setting up your website. So to jump right into whether this is even a good idea to invest your time and money into, we can talk about specialty food trends. Specialty food is a great category to look at because it's typically going to be your more handcrafted artisan type of food, which is what many people are doing on a small scale. So the good news is that this food category is up. It's over $120 billion last year, and it rose by a little over 21% as well since 2013. This category, going into starting your own food business, was named a top industry in 2014 by Inc. magazine. And then just for this year, they just named specific category of prepared coffee and tea as a top industry to go into. So if that's your area of the food product that you're developing or drink product, that might be a really great one to consider. So coming down just a little bit and looking more on the micro level, we have our local food trends. Local food has become kind of a shorthand for artisan, transparent, high quality, fresh, sustainable, environmentally friendly, as well as, of course, giving back to our local community and supporting our local economy. So also good news that this category is up. 11.7 billion in 2014, and it's expected to continue growing, almost doubling by 2019. In a recent Gallup poll, nearly half of people surveyed said they're willing to pay up to 10% more for locally produced foods, and almost 1 in 3 said they're willing to pay up to 25% more. And this is really good news because the reality is that when you are making a locally made food product or drink product, typically you are going to have to charge a little bit more, and there is that kind of local premium. And a lot of it is because you don't have the efficiencies that a large, multi-billion-dollar food company has on their side. Okay, so let's get into what is a food business. What are we talking about here? Well, this could be everything from a sit-down restaurant, fast casual, coffee shop. It could be a food truck or mobile push cart, very popular these days. It could be a catering company, or like Supernatural Eats here in Loveland is catering and also home delivery and meal prep. But for today's purpose, we're going to talk about value-added food businesses. So this is when you are a food producer that is taking raw ingredients and you're changing them in some way. So typically through heat or fermentation, baking, cooking, you're changing those raw ingredients into something new that you're going to package and sell to the consumer. So since we're in Loveland, I thought we'd talk about some local food producers. We have Canyon Bakehouse, which is a gluten-free bakery that does breads and other breakfasty things. Can't talk about Northern Colorado without talking about beer. So many breweries are packaging and selling that beer retail. Honey are big in Northern Colorado, any kind of honey products, as well as the raw product. Wild Zora is a pressed meat bar geared towards the paleo community. Ona bars are similar, an energy bar, again geared towards paleo or gluten-free. Colorado Cherry Company is a long-standing food business, taking cherries grown up the canyon and turning them into other products. And then relatively new to the market is Bubba's Fine Foods, which is a snack mix and other snack foods for the paleo market. So now we're going to get into what I call the four phases of a food business. So phase one, to take the Cultivate metaphor across the board here, this is really where you've said, I have an idea, I'm going to pick up that packet of seeds, it's this idea, and I'm going to plant those seeds. So this is your concept phase. This is where you're taking an idea, your concept, you're kind of just, you're spreading out the idea and you're going to test it. So this is your investigative time to see if it's even really a viable business idea. So next you're going into the development phase. And this is where you've said, yes, I want to go ahead and continue with my idea. I think it's a good one. There's market share and all the things that we'll discuss a little bit later on. But this is now where you're really nurturing those seeds. You're giving them the fertilizer, the sun, you're weeding them, you're watering them. So you're giving that idea everything it needs to be able to grow. The next phase is the launch phase. So this is where you have done everything you can to nurture those seeds, that idea, and it's now coming out of the ground. It's you're putting that product out into the world. It's now available for sale. You're saying, here I am. We are a company, a business. And then the last phase is really after you've gone through the first phase, but this is your growth phase. And so this may be where you've put your idea out into the world. Maybe it needs some tweaking. Maybe it needs you're going to scale up. Maybe you're going to add some new product lines. Maybe you just you're doing really well, but now you need to find some more sustainability in your business. So a lot of times this growth phase will actually feed back into the cycle, and you'll start that cycle, at least in a smaller way, over again. So we're going to talk about each of these in a little bit more in depth. So your concept phase, like I mentioned, is your idea phase. You're planting that seed and you're just saying, will it work, right? You're not investing a ton of resources at this point. So you have your big idea. Here's what you're testing. You're testing what is that specific need, that problem, or that desire that your product or your business is going to fulfill. Do people actually like it? And by people, I don't mean just your mom or your spouse. Like, you really need to start testing your idea on a broader spectrum of people. Find people that you maybe normally wouldn't associate with or you kind of avoid. Those are actually the best people that you want to get their opinion, and you need to be really open to feedback. You need to ask yourself the question of, is there a market for it? Is there even a place to sell this? Is the market so saturated with other products? If you want to get into the salsa market here in Northern Colorado, I would highly caution you against that. However, this is also where you're defining your unique selling position. So if you're going to make a salsa, you need to have a way that you're going to really stand out in the market. So this is kind of a two-part, you're asking yourself, is there even a market for it? And then how are you going to stand out in that market? And then, of course, hopefully you're not getting into a food business to just be a hobby, although some people do. But you need to find out if this is even a profitable idea. And so what we do is help people with, provide some of those tools to be able to wrap some numbers around what can I price this at and what are my costs going to be. So the whole goal of the concept phase is whether you're going to move forward or not. What I find is that a lot of food businesses, I would meet them at the place where they were already getting a commissary kitchen, they were in full development phase, but they had not spent the time here on the concept work. And I think this is an area where businesses really fall down if they haven't done this work yet. So, very important step. So now to get into development, I break this up into two parts: systems, or your nuts and bolts of your business, and then your identity and building your brand. This is kind of what I consider the more fun part. So to go into your systems, your nuts and bolts, this is everything from setting up your business, getting a bank account, filling out all the right forms, your registrations, your licenses with the government. You are selling food to individuals who are putting it in their bodies, so there are a lot more government restrictions and policies and procedures that you need to follow. So this is also getting your costs in place. Another important step, piece of this system phase is to be building your vendor relationships and your strategic partnerships. So who are you going to get your packaging from? Who are you going to source your product from? Setting up those initial relationships, and maybe even, is there some interest from the local coffee shop to sell your product? Or what are defining your market outlets? Where are you going to sell this product at? And if you're going to go online, well, there's a lot of things that you need to do. If you're going to go with Amazon, what is it that you need to do and have to be able to sell on Amazon? And of course, all that needs to factor back into your pricing strategy. So lots of work to be done here, but super foundational and absolutely necessary if you're going to actually launch your business. So a lot of food entrepreneurs, they just want to make their food product or their drink. They just want to get that out into the world. So having help here can be really instrumental to keeping the momentum behind your business going. So the fun part, at the same time, these can be going on together. It's not like you have to do all the nuts and bolts and then you go to the fun part. You can definitely be building these at the same time. But this is where you're really building your identity and your brand. So when I say brand, a lot of people think, just tell me, well, that's your logo. But that is not the case at all. Your logo is just one aspect of your brand. So think about a brand as a visual representation of how you are putting yourself and your product and your business out into the world. How is it that you want people to interact with your brand? What do you want them to think of when they see your brand? And a lot of this goes back to, so there's some exercises that we do when we talk about branding, and a lot of that is who is your target audience, and really building out an avatar for that audience, so that you can picture them, that every time you're crafting a message, you're using imagery, you're really speaking to the right audience. So you're going to develop, once you have kind of your foundation of who your brand is, then you're going to develop your brand assets, your logo, your social media accounts, your voice and your tone, your website. So all of this will come into play as you develop your brand strategy. And then you want to think about your customer experience with your brand as well. So once you're out in the world, you're on social media, you're selling your product, whether it's in person or online. Every time a customer comes into interaction with your brand, how is it that you want them to feel? What is the experience that you want them to have? So spending some time thinking about your mission and your vision. What is your customer service going to look like? And how are you going to build that brand loyalty that everybody wants? So just to kind of give a great example of building a great brand identity, I'll take Canyon Bakehouse here in Loveland. So they have a great website, very clean, very attractive, but they also, it's more than just selling their bread, right? So they've developed, they have a recipe site, they have a community area. So they're really giving their their eaters a lot of reasons to love their brand. It's not just because of the great bread, but of all these other resources that they provide. They do a great job on their social media platforms with Facebook. They do a lot of videos, some promotional items, lots of great photos. They do a great job on Instagram, and people really think that they're the same, but they're not. And Instagram is really a place, it's much less promotional, and it's about selling a lifestyle. So very fun pictures that, again, thinking of your target audience, who are you selling to, but you want to just communicate a lifestyle and a loyalty for that lifestyle, but you're not necessarily selling your product. And then they also have a great, like I said, some resources, but they do a great job with blogs and really tapping into their audience, that gluten-free community. So the other fun part that you get to do in the development stage is you actually get to make your product, right? This is why you're in business, because you want to make this great food. You're gonna be 100% legal from the start. You're gonna need to get a commissary kitchen. And if you're going down the Cottage Food Act first, which is fine, you can certainly be making that out of your own kitchen, but you're no longer just going to be making tiny little batches that you're testing, right? You're going to be making large scale, much more efficient batches of this product. So you really need to test this and then dive more into getting more feedback. Because when you scale up from your little KitchenAid mixer on your kitchen counter to a 60-quart mixer at a commissary kitchen, that can really tweak with your recipe. So you really want to practice, go through some dry runs, make sure it tastes the way you want it to, do that quality assurance, and get more feedback from people. There's definitely some big horror stories in the food startup world of ovens not working right and huge, orders that they need to fill, and now their ovens are burning their product. So this is an area that you want to spend time on, and hopefully it is a fun area to do so. All right, so you have your product, you have all your branding, your labels, your packaging, your website, everything is ready to go. So now you're going to launch your product. So you have a decision to make. You can either go launch soft, do a soft launch, or you can kind of go the go big strategy of like, hello world, we're here. So you might have heard the term soft launch in restaurants, and this is pretty typical that restaurants will do a soft launch where they might do a week of invited guests only or limited seating, and this is a chance for them to really test things out, have dry runs with the staff and so forth. So if you think about it in that way, like a soft launch is just kind of like, we're here. But you are still kind of seeking feedback from people. You can go to market, you can sell that product, but you're not totally sure if this is like the award-winning XYZ. So a reason why you might do a soft launch, some of it just depends on your personality, but some of it is whether, if you're just going into the farmer's market, a soft launch might be the way to go. You're still tweaking it. Or if you're going into a brand new market, a brand new industry, like as an example, if you're going into the chocolate dipped insect category, which insects are becoming a very large category worldwide, not so much in the US, you might want to spend a little bit more time testing that, getting feedback on your packaging, on your messaging, on the product itself. So if you're kind of going into new territory, a soft launch might be a good idea. The go big strategy is like, this product is ready to go. It is fully baked and ready to go out into the world as is. So this is like press releases, launch parties, tastings, demos, blogger relationships. You were like, we're for sale and we're out there, and you're trying to make a splash, and you're trying to really get that customer base and the attention on a larger scale. Um, Certainly, you can move from soft launch and then go into a go big strategy as well. Of course, our goal for a launch is to gain customers, right? We want people to buy our products, and hopefully they taste your product and it's great, and you're acquiring more customers. But really, the number one goal that you're trying to achieve with your launch is to create brand loyalty, to create love for your product. I mean, the people who try your product once and never buy it again, that's not what we're going for. You want to create something really special, really unique, and some of that is it's your actual product, that it tastes really good, but it's also this is your customer experience, right? How did they interact with your brand? Was there some feel good aspects of it? Are they going to go and tell all their friends? Are they going to keep looking for your product on the grocery shelf, or for you at a farmer's market or online? So really creating brand love, brand loyalty is really important. Great, so now you have launched your business. Hopefully things are going amazing. You're selling, you have everything going for you, and then we get into growth. Growth can, like I said, can have a couple of different aspects to it that maybe are separate or interweave together. So one thing with growth, when we talk about in the plant metaphor here, a lot of times you actually prune back a plant in order for it to grow even more robustly. So if you think about sustainability of a business in the same way, in order to get this business off the ground, you have been probably wearing a ton of different hats. Probably hats that maybe don't necessarily fit you, but you have had to get to this stage. So this might be the time where things are going well, and you say, I don't necessarily want to like keep growing. I just want to sustain, and I want to be keep growing this line of product, but I don't necessarily want to like get into grocery stores or whatever the next step is for you. So this could be where you give some things away. You hire that payroll company. You hire somebody to do your social media. So you're kind of outsourcing or delegating up so that you can take off some of those hats. A great example is Stuff and Mallows in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I just recently spoke to them, and I wrote a blog about it on my website. But they did something for the first 2.5 years. They did kind of what he called the shotgun method. So they looked at getting into every store that they possibly could. And at the end of 2.5 years, they were in 500 Colorado stores, which is amazing. Like, who wouldn't want to have that number behind them? We're in 500 stores. But the thing was that they were doing everything themselves. They were making the product, distributing the product, being the salespeople, invoicing, the whole thing. And what they realized after 2.5 years, they sat down and said, what we really should be doing is actually focusing on the stores that are moving the most product. Instead of just trying to be one case in every store, let's scale that back and really focus on the stores that are moving multiple cases. So they did just that, and now they are actually in 60 stores, so a significant decrease. However, their sales are actually up because they really put more energy and marketing focus and help for those stores that were doing really well. So now they only focus on stores that are moving at least 10 cases a week. They also added e-commerce, and so that has really led to what we would go into the scale-up phase, right? So now they need to make more product, but for them, this is a little bit more sustainable as well because it's coming directly it's a little bit less messy with distribution. So scaling up, maybe you're moving from one outlet to a bigger outlet, you're getting in grocery stores, you're going online, whatever that is. So you might need to ramp up production, and so with that comes, you might need more space. In the case of Stuff and Mallows, again, they had to find a commissary kitchen. They don't have their own facilities, and they were able to use another local startup called the Food Corridor to help them find a larger commissary kitchen so they can make their product, because making marshmallows is really messy and it takes about 3 days because there's a drying process there. So they were really feeling cramped on space. So now they're actually in Weld County School District, which has been a great fit for them. Much larger space, room for storage, and it's a win-win for the school district as well. So kind of a neat story. And then reinvention, you could, maybe you want to add a new product to your product line. You want to add a new flavor. So again, like I mentioned at the beginning, you might be taking this now, you're going to reinvent yourself or add a new product, and you're going to go back into your concept development and growth phase to some extent. So this concludes the presentation. So I want to ask you, what is your big idea? What food or drink idea do you have that is going to change the market, that is going to add a high quality, better product, fill a need, fill a desire, solve a problem? Well, again, my name is Sari Kimball, and I own Cultivate Consulting. You can visit us on our website and take a free business evaluation so you can really see where you're at as you start a food business. We're also available for a free 30-minute consultation to sit down and talk with you more about how we could help your business launch or grow or develop. And then we also have a great So You're Ready to Start a Food Business workshop coming up in May. And this is for really getting into the concept phase. So you have an idea and you really want to investigate that further. Again, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you're ready to go out and start that next great food business.